Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the stream. And we were working on something last night, which was renaming buildings. We had it displaying on the miner. Let's take a look at that. Right, so basically, if we fire our probes, we can have a look at this. Once it builds the mine, we can also do a little save, which will save us a bit of time later. But we shall take a look at this. Now, I moved the code into the actual base building itself. So basically all the buildings should now name themselves. So you can see here that we've got the building name. Okay, but the one thing we want to do is we want to do something similar to the options, okay? And what I mean by that, I shall show you in a second. And we might do a little bit of tidying up of this particular widget, right? Now, what it is you'll notice that when we hit the back, it brings up this widget here. Okay? And this is a generic widget I made that you can actually give it a certain, like there's an OK and a cancel, and the OK actually fires in an interface off, right? So we will take a look at that and see how we can implement the same thing for our renaming the buildings, right? Because all of the building detail widgets will have this option, right? So let's take a look at that widget. And I'm kind of sure is it in here? Nope. But we will be able to find it here. Okay. Because if we hit this back button, then we look for the on clicked, it's going to show us it's the confirm widget. Okay, which is here. Give me 1 second, guys. It is very humid where I am. Right, so basically this widget is pretty much what we want, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it. And we are going to edit it slightly. And we are going to move it. So we're going to move it into game. And it's not roasting, it's very, very humid where I am. It's warm, but it's not like the usual, which is 2 degrees cooler than the surface of the sun. But yeah. So you'll notice here that this is a generic text block which we can type stuff in. Okay, so this is going to actually change slightly. And we're actually going to do, we're going to duplicate this. And then we're going to put it on top. And we're going to put rename a meteorite. How do you know it was a meteorite? So we're going to put rename building. Then this is no longer going to be that. It's actually going to be editable text box. Right? Then we're going to delete this. And we're going to say txt building name. Alright, that's quite interesting. So with this, we're going to go for our normal text there. And what's the size of this? 24. Okay, so we'll go for 24. In fact, tell you what, we'll go for 20. And this is going to change, but this is just going to give us an idea of how it's going to look. Hopefully. Now, there we go, building name, right? We click that. Hi, Sam Williams. I have absolutely no idea. But it's unlikely because I believe no, the thing about the sun was, it's just a joke because where I am, it's really hot. And my normal thing when people say if it's hot or not is to basically say it's about the temperature of the sun. So it's just kind of a joke. That doesn't seem to be changing that font at all, by the way, which is a bit of a bummer. But hey ho, I suppose. Right, so we're going to change this to default. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen because basically Fortnite is done in a highly modified version of Unreal Engine 5, I believe, or it is now. So they wouldn't release a highly, I'm guessing it's a sort of heavily modified version of Unreal Engine so that it's basically better optimized for Fortnite, right? So there wouldn't be a point to actually bringing out that Unreal editor. Plus the fact that why would they want to do that? Because then they're just inviting some people to actually use it to make a competitor to Fortnite. Right, so message goes, we do the text message, and we put it in there. And I've got a sticky mouse today for some reason. Now, having said that, I have completely forgot how I set this up. Oh yeah, when you create it, you pass in the message, right? So what this actually does is it implements this interface. And if the parent does the interface, then it basically confirms the action, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense from a business point of view either, right? Because why would they want players making their own stuff for Fortnite out with what they want to do and sell, right? Because everything that they make, like the skins and stuff, they sell them, right? They'd just be basically bastardizing their product if they did that. Okay, so yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to do it. Right, we're getting sidetracked here, which is okay because I'm kind of feeling a bit rough today and I'm not quite at the races yet with this. But what we need to do is we need to have a look at our mining details, right? And then we need to do a button, basically. So let's do that. Yeah, it kind of just becomes a in-game character editor. That's all they could really do. And then the point of that is, why do that when you could basically, again, you're cutting your own income by doing that. Right? So we wrap this with a button. It just doesn't make any sense. Button, edit, name. And we shall just put edit. And we shall have some padding on this to make it a bit bigger. Hey Kofi, how you doing, mate? Right, so this button here, let's do something a bit more interesting with it. As I said, I'm not quite at the races today at all, so everything's kind of happening really slowly in my brain. Alright, what I should really do here is find the button on the building details. Have we got the building details open? Apparently not. And building details in here. Now this close button is what I'm interested in. Because it's using a particular button PNG. So I'm going to copy that. And we're going to go into mining details. And we're going to paste it. Now, did that do the right thing? I don't know. No, it didn't. So, if we paste it in there, we can paste it in there. Right? And this button wow, we're really slow today, I tell you that. Right, so we're going to create widget, and it's going to be confirm name, and it's going to be rename building. Okay. And that's going to be self. So we'll just test this for now, right? We'll do a little test on this first. Oh, I forgot to save it. Damn it. God, that's the best about this, right? I created all the save stuff so that I wouldn't have to do this every time and like build the miners, build the refineries, build everything. So I did the save game for that, and then I keep forgetting to save it. I keep forgetting to actually save the thing that, to do the thing that I created to save time. I'm still loving the drones though. Right, so we're going to save it now. Right, so there we go. And you've got to add something to the viewport, haven't you? Duh. So this is going to be add to viewport. Okay. So we'll save that. And if we look at the, have I got it open? I haven't even got it open. Would you believe that? I don't know why I've not got that open, but I haven't. This is mining details, right? And we're looking for BPI confirm. Okay. So basically, this mining details should have BPI confirm. Okay. Now, the one thing we're going to have to do here is when we create this button, this actual button is going to have a building name that's going to be a name, and it's going to have to be exposed on spawn. Okay, so when we create it, we're going to pass in the name of the building. Apparently we didn't compile that. So refresh the node, and if we get building, and get name, that goes in there. Right, and then this is going to have a event confirm except in this, actually we're going to have to create a new one. Right, we're going to have to create a new interface for this, because we're going to have to pass back a name. Now, we don't have interfaces here, so we're going to have to find the interface for this. Mine indeed, actually, if we look at the class settings for this and find it, right, what we'll do is we'll add a new one. And we'll call it confirm underscore name, and it's going to be name and name. Okay, so if we go back to here, it's actually going to, well, we have to do it in here first. Right, so it's not confirm action, it's event confirm name. Okay, and we're basically doing this. And we're setting the name. Okay, and if we go back to here, we're doing that. Hey the Battens, how you doing, mate? How are you this afternoon? Or whatever time it is, wherever you are. Right, and this is going to be building name. Okay, so let's test it and see. Right, I definitely saved that, by the way, guys, so I don't know where my miners went. the Battens. Hopefully that's how you pronounce it. Right. So we definitely saved it there, right? So now if we click on this, we get our building name, which should have been that, but it isn't. So we'll cancel it because it ain't working right. And we need to set the text actually we need to set this. Set text, editable text this time. We set it there and we put that there. Okay. So it doesn't like that much. We'll put that there. Right. So that should be working now. Yeah, I probably have to do a delete everything and restart again for the saving to work again because I've been mucking about with a lot of it. So that's probably why it's not working. I still like my drones. You guys still like the drones? I like the drones. So this is Patreon Miner, right? So yeah, there we go. We should be able to rename this to like Super Miner. Okay, that. Now that's not going to change because I need to update the widget, but if we do that and then click on it again, error, why is it not? Okay. So what we'll do is I don't think, or did I? Maybe. It's got BPI confirm and mining details has BPI confirm. So we should be doing that. Okay. So that's kind of right. Right, but what we really need to do here is change it to something else, to super minor. Right, we OK that. So yeah, that's obvious. It's not that. It's this. We get the editable text. Right. So there we go. We can probably do this. A minute, that's to name, and maybe we can't. Let's not worry about it. Okay, so this should be us now. Aye. And then the last part of this is we need to re-update the widget. For the minor details. So strawberry minor, we call it super minor. We resume and resume, and there it updates. Okay, but we're going to have to manually call it. Right, so in the mining details, we basically say update widget when we do this. So this says update widget. Okay, so that's going to update it straight away for us. And that keeps us all on track. Right. And I think on that, that's a good time to take a little smoke break. Manchester United are leading Leicester 1-0, just for a little update for all you footy fans. And I shall be back in 2 minutes, and we'll have a look at extending this out to the building details. Okay, we are back, and back to doing our name button. Now in our building details, we have got this recipe thing, and what we could do in this vertical box is we could add a spacer in here, and we could add 20 in there. Then we could save that, and the next thing we can do is, first of all, we can add that interface, and save that. Then the next thing we can do is we can go into mining details, we can go to designer, we can copy this horizontal box, then we can go straight into building details, into designer, and we can paste it. And that pasted it in the completely wrong place. And it's going to go there. And in fact, we need the line above it as well. We need this horizontal box. Okay. Right. But this box is going to go above this box. Okay. And we can basically copy this into here. Somewhere. Right, so we can't exactly do that. I think it's to do, what we'll do is we'll copy the code but not the actual event. Okay, so if we put this here, okay, so we're not going to do that either apparently. So we shall go to our button and we'll do it manually. Okay. We'll copy that. We should be able to copy this. Right? Okay, we can save that. And then we can do our event, confirm name. Then we can copy this. It's probably this update widget that isn't happening because we don't have an update widget on this one per se. Or it's not called update widget, but then we can plug it in there. And let's have a look at this again. So it's in the recipe, right? Building name. But we need to set up the actual name, which is like here. So we basically copy that. We already have a text. Actually, that should be the same for all of them. Right, I'm getting a little bit right, what we're going to do is we're going to test this because I don't think this is quite right. Right, so we need this here to get filled in. Right? It is looking okay though. We can test it. Now it is getting the right name here. So we can close that. and we need to know what this text we'll just call this text name. Okay, so if we just call that text name, then what we can do is if we paste and use that, right? And we're going to copy that now. The question is, there isn't really an update on this. So I'm guessing we're going to have to do our own update on it, right? In here. So basically we're going to have to do this here. Whoops. So we can save that. Okay. Just wait on this activating and then we can do something about it. Right, there's Boost the Refiner. We should be able to rename that. Okay. Resume. My finer. Okay, that. And there we go. Now, the only other one that we maybe need to do is this one. But I don't think I'm even going to use that one. I don't even know if there's going to be a warehouse in the game, because at the end of the day, there's storage containers. And there isn't one for the player base, even though there might end up being one. But yeah. So that's okay. It's all good. Now, as you can see, the inventory doesn't have the colours. And this was going to be a question for you guys. Do I implement the wacky colours for the inventory, or maybe I did do that actually? It's just that I've not changed them in the options. Right, let's put some garish colours, because we know that my taste in colour design is not the greatest, but it is a good laugh. Right, so we'll go back, and now you'll notice that my design choices are, colour design choices are awful. Okay, so we've got our super garish purple and green, right, for our connectors and stuff. And now we have our super garish colours for this. Now, did I do the inventory? That's the question. Indeed I did. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a bit of padding to this. Right, so if we go into building details, go to designer, then we look at our close button, we can change that to 10 and 10. Okie doke. We can save that. Press play. And it was on the inventory one that we wanted, right? So if we look at the inventory, main, we'll go 10 here and 10 here, right? And on our button itself, we actually want button PNG. Okay, so we can copy that and paste it there. Then we can go in here and paste it here. stop that and save it. And I'm going to check our other one. And that's okay. But if we look at our warehouse one, we'll just check that is in line with what we're doing here. So we just basically do 10, 10. Then we go to a button close, and that is button PNG, but press does not have that. So we'll paste that in there. And the last one is trading. So we can do the same thing for our button here. And then we can do it here as well. There we go. And that's going to have everything a heck of a lot more standardized. But we have to do this we have to do the color changes for our resupply. Right, let me show you that. So if we do the resupply, this doesn't use my super garish colors. Right? So everyone knows without super garish colors, then this means nothing. Right? So we are going to have to do that. So with that in mind, we have to go to our event graph, and we know we have to set up display colors. Okay, and then in our event graph, we have to drag this in. So we can drag that in. I mean, we're just not sticking true to ourselves if we don't make everything as ugly as we possibly can, right? Now, the player will be able to do it so it looks really good, right? But since I've got all the colour sense of a crisp packet, that's not really going to happen. So, what we need to do here is we need to check one of our other ones. For example, building details. And we need to do a quick check in here just to see what we've got. And these are going to be exactly the same thing, right? So we can basically copy these and go to trading main and put them in. And then yep, that's text building name, and there's a button close, and we basically do, and I'm guessing that we're going to do it with this as well. So we're going to duplicate that. We're going to duplicate it again. And these are going to get plugged into our buttons. Then this is going to go in here. Then that's going to go in there. And this is going to go down here. Then we join these up. And that should be that. So now we get nothing. Okay. Which is awesome, obviously. And that's refresh trade slot, so this is completely in the wrong place. Right. It should be in here somewhere. So what we'll do is we shall put it here. That's if my mouse will behave itself for 2 minutes. What on earth happened there? Right. Unreal Editor, it was deciding to just basically do what it wanted for a second there. So we can save that, and now we can test it. And there we go. Now, I don't know what that trade button is. So, let's find out what that trade button is. Trade complete. So, in here, we want this. And I think what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to give the player another couple of options here of the color of a button when it's not pressed, or sorry, when it's not hovered, and the color when it is hovered, and possibly even the text on the button, right? Because I'll let you see what I mean by that, or why that's going to be necessary. Because if we look at this, you'll notice that, you know, there's not a, it's not really very good, shall we say. And the other thing I want to do is this. I'm guessing this is one horizontal box, right? So let's fix that up. So this appears to be one. Yeah, that seems to be right. Right. We need to do something here to move. It's like this is a horizontal box. Which is okay. I wonder. Right, so that's too far. Yeah, I suppose that kind of works. And I'm kind of more happy with that. But the problem with it is the fact that you can't really see it. Right? That's my issue with it. You can't, it's not really got a colour when these haven't got a colour when they're not. And that's not looking great either. And I believe, yeah. Right. So that is because of this here. These two need to basically go. right? So that's cool. Now the hover there needs to change as well. And these buttons need to change as well. It's like we need a hovered and an unhovered colour for the player to select them. Right? So there's that. And this needs to go. Right? Because we've got a resupply ship thing there, so we don't really need another one. So we can basically delete that and delete that. Okay. And that's basically now just a spacer. Yeah, it is. That's literally what it is. And we don't need it. So that sorts that issue out. Yep, that's looking better. But as again, we need to change this to be some sort of two-color system, right? Because this also affects if we build, say we build a refinery, right? You know, it's a bit better here because the actual text is white. So fundamentally, if we were to actually change the text to be white rather than black, it would probably pop out a bit better. Right, you'll see that just now, but it doesn't stop the fact that if they decide on other color decisions, that these won't actually be kind of rubbish. I mean, the thing we could do here is we could make it so that it's got a 0.5 alpha. Right, we could take the colour and then give it a 0.5 alpha, and then it'll basically change it to alpha 1 if they hover over it. So it'll make it so the button will be kind of semi-transparent, and then it'll actually become like solid colour if they hover over it, right? And the same for like these. Right, and this would be actually fairly straightforward to do because it's in our blueprint library. Okay. And we could also do it for this button here. Right. And this should actually be current recipe. So we can close that and we'll stop that. Right guys, I'm just about to grab myself a little drink out the fridge. Dr. Pepper, I presume. I shall be back in a moment. Okay guys, sorry for the interruption, we are back, and what are we doing now? So, we've basically got that all sorted out, right? The only thing here is, if we want this colour to be like the hovered colour, or we change the colour slightly, and if we do that, right, we can basically do that by going in here and changing this. Right? Now, what we can do here is we can break the linear color . We can do this . And then we can give it an alpha of 0.5. Right? And let's see how this looks. And that's looking a lot better. Right, so this is looking a lot better. Now, the other thing we could do is give the player the option of changing the amount of blur. Right? And this blur, the blur on this is, look at that, it's way down to the bottom, that's another, and a way up to the top. So this blur on this widget is not right. Okay, so we need to do something about that. So the blur here, or this blur here, this background blur should be in here. So let's right, I'll tell you what we'll do, just in case there's a bit of a goof. We shall do a duplicate and we'll do a test and run on this. Right, that was the original, or not the original. Right, so we can delete that. And then we can have a look at this one. And this should be wrapped with a blur. Right? And this background blur should be the same. Right? So we give it a 5. And then this should actually go in here. and that's kind of not worked. We can delete that. Then this canvas panel, right, this canvas panel here, be 0, 0, and this should be 0.5, 0.5. We're not going to size it to content. Right, so that's kind of all wrong. So I'm just wondering if we wrap this in the blur and then just turn this blur to nothing, that might actually work. Right, that might be the easiest fix rather than mucking around. So basically, if I change this to 0, okay, let's have a look at this again. And then right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this with a blur. Okay. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to add a blur in there. Right, so the background blur should actually go in here. So this background blur is going to be 5. And now we'll check this to see if it actually works. And apparently not. Oh, that's probably why. So that's going to fill it up. Right. And there we go. So we shall try this. And yeah, that's better. That's much better. So we could allow the player to actually adjust the amount of blur on this stuff, right? Because they might not want any blur on this. They might just want to see through it, right? So if we actually had a look at that, right, if we say blur strength 0, we can actually have a look at it in blur setting 0, and you'll see that, well, it's got nothing, right? So you can see right through it. Now if we stop it and we put the blur to 10, and test it, then it's very, very, very blurry, right? So you practically can't see. Well, 10 isn't so bad, right? But there is a point where it becomes kind of pointless. So let's stick it at 50, right? And we'll see what we get. You can now see that you can't actually make out anything. So that's kind of a bad thing. So I would actually say that if we put 20, then I'm just trying to find the numbers here for where the player can blur, how much the player would be able to blur. So that's at 20. So I'm thinking here, if we cancel that, and we stop that, I'm thinking anything from 0 to 20. And we shall rename this to just basically blur, right? And we can basically do it in all of our things. Right, so that we can actually allow the player to do the blur. So we can just basically go through each of these, get the background blur, make it a variable and set it to blur, and then everything is basically the same in that particular point in time. We can go to the warehouse, we can get the background blur as variable, and then blur. Okay. And then so that is building details. In mining details, That's a subclass or sub widget, so that's fine. We don't need to do anything with that. So basically what we need to do now is go to our options. We can delete that. Don't do anything weird on me here, Unreal Engine, please. Is this going to crash? Oh no, thank God for that. I was getting worried, and when that happens we immediately save all. Right, so from this point what we need to do is we need to go to game, and we need to go to one of these, and we need the blur strength. Okay. Excuse me. So we need to go to blueprints, and we need to get our function library, and we need to do a function, and it's going to be called set blur strength. Okay, now it's going to take in well, we're just going to call this blur, and it's going to take in background blur, and wait till I think of this, how we're going to do this. Let's just do this. We'll say strength, and that's going to be a float. Okay, so we're going to take this blur, and we're going to set strength, and it's going to go in here. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set a variable here, and we're going to say blur strength, and that's going to be a float. Okay, and it's going to default to 5, so we shall save that. And we're going to have to now delete our saved games. Okay, and then We're going to have to set up a few other things here actually. Because this is a completely different thing. Right, we're going to have to go into our player controller and we've got player colors, and what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to create another variable here, and we're going to have to call it blur strength, and it's going to be a float. And we're going to have player options, and then we're going to add that to our player options, and now we're going to do find references for this. Okay, and we're going to be grabbing blur strength as well, and this is going to go in here. Now it's going to be set to default at 5 when we first set this up, so that's all cool, or that's cool and all, but what we'll do is if we go to the graph for this, when we set display colors, right, we're going to do this. And then we're going to set blur strength. Damn. And this is going to come from blur strength. I'm going to show you the and that one we pass in the controller. I mean, we don't need to. I mean, that'll do it. But what we could do here is if we go to our save data options, right, and we change the default to 0, right, and we save that, then if we press play, okay, I'm not too sure it's liking this. Oh well, it did. If we press 5, you'll notice that there's no blur. Okay. Now, if I stop that and I delete the save games again, and then we change this to 20, compile that, and then we run it again, and we hit 5, you'll notice that it's really blurred, right? So that's all working. All we need to do now is basically set it up in our options so that you can actually change this value, right? And on that point, I shall say goodbye for now. I shall be back at 8 PM Central. If you don't mind, hit the subscribe button if you've enjoyed the stream, and check out the description for the Discord and Patreon and my previous game that's on Steam. So have a great afternoon, and bye bye for now.